Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to attend this live webinar workshop titled An Inside Look at Vault to Support Your Job Search. Now, please note for our live attendees, there will be an opportunity for you to type in any questions that you might have throughout the workshop, and will be answered at the end of the presentation. Now, note for those that might be watching a recording of this, feel free to also email us to the email address that we see at the bottom of the agenda screen. Now, before we actually dive into the agenda at hand, spending time reviewing the resource, we thought it was best to first address the elephant in the room, and that being the COVID-19 pandemic. So as the uncertainty and the anxiety about the coronavirus outbreaks is consuming students and job seekers' daily lives, we still have to make sure that everyone is prepared for the current market, as well as what might be the new norm as we move forward. And understandably, the stress of the unknown future and how it pertains to your career, it could really be a lot of stress, and more importantly, having to upend your current routine from studying and now switching virtually, sometimes including that into a job search can be a little bit too difficult. So we're going to say that if you're an individual that might not have the power right now to continue to go throughout these challenging times, it might be best to suspend your search. But we're really encouraging everyone to really put forth as much effort as possible. Since companies are out there, they're still hiring. And even though the hiring process, it might be a little delayed, you're still going to be in a better position to transition quickly when the situation stabilizes if you maintain your momentum. So before we dive deep into Vault, we think it's best to first address some of the stats that we've been seeing over the job market, and then what some of our job seekers could do and seek support. So it's tough to not see some of the statistics of how many people have either been applying for unemployment, statistics of where individuals think the unemployment rate will increase to by mid-year, and then hearing some of the negative news about companies that have just rescinded their full-time, part-time, or internship opportunities for the summer. Now, even though there's been a lot of negatives, we are seeing some positives. Organizations have adapted, and they are now going ahead and hiring still, but just switching that opportunity, let's just say an internship, virtually. Or perhaps they're making sure that they're building up their pipeline of qualified candidates for when the situation does subside. So we just want to let everyone know that even though it might be a little challenging, and what we've even seen from some of our friends at the organization ZipRecruiter is even though they're seeing these jobs that continue to decrease month after month, that there's still going to be a shining silver lining for when everyone does, of course, get back to the new norm. And we just have to keep our momentum strong and really seek all the support that's out there. Now, we want to thank our friends at the Star Career Development Center for going ahead and organizing this workshop. And for all students associated with the Baruch College, you do have access to Vault and tremendous other resources through your Career Center. And luckily, for some of our members that are watching this overview or live that are coming from other programs within the CUNY system, well, good for you. You also have access to Vault and other tools by merely going to your Career Center or possibly looking at your library. But the Career Center is there to provide you as many options for support as possible. And sometimes the best support is just meeting with one of your counselors virtually. Now, it's a career services job to really understand the state of the market. They always have their fingers on the pulse of the job market. And more importantly, they can connect you with employers that they know are hiring or posting positions through their site. Now, you're not alone in this process. Everyone could have access to as many tools as possible provided at the Career Center. And we even say just not even take advantage of digital tools, take advantage as much information as possible. That could be, for example, connecting on LinkedIn with some of your fellow peers or any other alumni. Note that there's a lot at your disposal. And one of the tools that are at your disposal is, of course, the Vault resource. Now, before we dive deep into the Vault resource, we do just want to quickly clarify how some of the content that we're about to see on our site is actually gathered. Now, there's a lot of tools, some that, of course, are paid for by career centers, other tools that might be free in nature, and questions that we come from students and job seekers all the time is, well, what tool is different than the other? Well, I thought it was just best to explain, again, how we gather our content. Vault is really known as a survey collection organization. Now, the surveys that we conduct are career related, but we have always felt for the 25 years that we've been in business that the best way to tell any sort of job seeker what it's like working in an industry, a profession, or even what organizations are offering from internships to other professional roles is to get it directly from the source and on a yearly basis. So we're always sending out our surveys to employees and interns. We're asking them a wide range of questions, not just how much does your organization pay, but quality of life factors like culture, diversity hiring, any other initiatives that might matter most to you as the job seeker. We then fact check all that information and produce it in a wide category that we're about to see, all within our Vault portal. So now shifting screens here from our quick little methodology to the access provided by Baruch College link. Again, reiterating, anyone that's not associated with Baruch College, you have your own access portal that's sent through your Career Center and or your school's library. Now, from all that survey data, we have created a lot of different categories within our site because we understand everyone is different in what they're seeking. Some need some insight on what these ever-changing jobs in the industry might be impacted. Others are just trying to find more insight into organizations they want to work for, while others are just trying to be career ready and be more of an attractive candidate. We have something for you depending on those needs. But let's first talk about some ways of navigating before we navigate through some of the core content. We are looking at Vault's standard homepage from a laptop desktop view. I encourage everyone to try Vault out on their phone if they haven't done so already, as we are mobile friendly. But we're going to be going through this tutorial here on the standard laptop desktop view. What we see is this integrated search box front and center, but also if I scroll up and down the page, that these sections here in what we call our header, they remain consistent. And in fact, we also have the search magnifying glass in the header in case you were on an additional page off the home page and wanted to do some form of search. We're going to first talk about the search functionality, and then we're going to spend most of our time diving deep into those categories in the header. The search functionality within Vault is for two types of users. We first say the undecided candidate. Maybe you don't know the name of a company or internship, or you just have general advice. Type it in, our search components will filter, and we're going to navigate you to information that's relevant on your search term. But maybe you do know the name of an organization or internship, or you have your topic like video interviewing, case interviewing, just resume guidance. Then still come in here and type it into our word wheel. I'm going to do a search here for an organization just to talk about some of the filter options that you have whenever you conduct a search. So I use the organization here, KPMG. What we're going to first see if we scroll up and down the page is relevant content. This relevant content, as we see here, is in the sense of profiles that we have on Vault for this organization, from their divisions, their international practices, and even their internship. But let's shift our eyes to the left-hand side of the screen. And in fact, to make this a little bit more in-depth, we're going to go back to the home page, and we're going to do another sort of search. Our very popular keyword search being resumes. You notice on the left that we give additional filter options to help you dive deep into the platform. Maybe you're looking for content on this topic, but in a sample document, or perhaps a video, an in-depth guidebook, or maybe any reference to where companies or internships are talking about that keyword. It helps speed up your search, get you into the content that's more relevant, and of course, in case for the undecided user, helps you find avenues within our site. But we strongly encourage that you dive deep in the sections of the header because they are very self-explanatory. Are you looking to look at thousands of rankings that Vault has on employers, industries, professions? Perhaps you're merely coming to our database to do research on companies, not just the 5 industries that we have here, but browse all of the industries and the companies that are tagged within our surveys. Same goes for exploring internships. Some of the content that we see here within career advice to help you be truly career ready in the sense of resume, networking, or learning more about opportunities. Our daily blogs to help you stay abreast of the market, and as well our own job board. Now, the first thing we're actually going to go to in the header is our favorite section within Vault, our guidebooks. Now, Vault's been around for over 25 years. So when we first started as an organization, the only way that we could share our survey data was through printed guidebooks. It's 2020 now, and luckily for all users at our site is, of course, 100% mobile friendly, and that we have all these guidebooks digitally now. The reason we promote guidebooks first is that our guidebook collection just takes all the core sections that you see here in the header and consolidates it into one easy to read digital title. Now, we have over 240 guidebooks on Vault. The majority of them are broken down in what we call industry guidebooks. Now, let's first talk about the guidebook landing page as we see here, referencing some titles that are very popular, whether they're new or being searched heavily by users within the school. We scroll a little bit longer, we could see all those other industries that we cover. We have topics on advice and even further education guidebooks. Now we're going to click around for a little bit before we actually get into one of these many guidebooks, because no matter the industry that you select, possibly I chose accounting here, you will see a combination of guidebooks that talk about the organizations, guidebooks that talk about the jobs that are tagged to that particular industry, and then as much information as well tagged to that industry in a separate title. And this is similar if we went into advertising and marketing, banking and finance, the list goes on and on. Now we will take us into one of these standard guidebooks here. I'm going to go into one that I haven't read yet, and that being market research. And upon clicking on any of these guidebook links, you're going to be taken to a standard landing page. Now, this landing page is essential because unfortunately, we don't have the ability to tell everyone our survey process when they come to the site. So we need to put those keywords within. You'll hear words like insider perspective, but it's also essential to let you know what's inside this guidebook, as well as additional titles that might be relevant to you. Now, all you need to do is click on the View Now button, wait for the page to load, depending on your internet speed from your home. And upon loading, what is loading is our new embedded reader. Now, embedded reader is ADA compliant. We'll talk about some of the tech features before we dive deep into the content. And what I'm going to click here is this little icon that says take a tour. For those that aren't familiar with an e-reader, we encourage you to do so you can learn about some of the features, such as being able to search inside this guidebook. Maybe you're looking for companies by name or topics similar to what you have done a search on the homepage. Perhaps you're looking for other specifics like the read out loud option, or some of the other text like download the ebook in case you wanted to read this on a different reader of yours if you were a PC compared to a Mac user, and even print if in case that is really how you wanted to learn. But now let's look at the content, because these content within these is really going to help each and every one of our job seekers. Now, this guidebook, even though it looks so in-depth, it's actually a little bit more, and all you need to do is click on some of these down arrows. So if we start with the chapters that are labeled the basics, we're going to give you an understanding about the overview of this industry, some positives and negatives, primary products and services, but then we encourage you to do a little bit more research. Learn about the history, some backgrounds, and some defining events that have really made this industry what it is. Maybe you want to learn about the current state of the industry, from trends and issues, the structure, snapshot. And if I continue to click, whether it's looking ahead at the future, knowing the field, there's so many of these drop-down categories within, you need to dive deep and do as much research as possible. Now I'm going to go into the category, one of the most popular within our titles, of these job searching within the industry and research companies. When you do click on the page, what will load is, of course, that chapter. You could go from page to page, but what we like to point out here is that a lot of the content within our guidebooks doesn't just reference using our own database. We will talk about how you have a lot of tools within your career services, and then we'll also promote a lot of free tools as well that might help you do further discovery within the topic at hand. Now, that was one of the 240 guidebooks. As we discussed, it's really the easiest way, in our opinion, to get such great information about the topic at hand. But we understand that there's different type of learners out there, so we're now going to shift over from our guides to several of these categories within career advice. Now, within this career advice category, this is going to be the section for a user that wants information on the topics that we see here, but maybe in a quick infographic or a sample document, a video. This is going to be the section for you. Speaking of videos, we're going to first start all the way at the bottom here, and we're going to select our category that's labeled Career Q&A Videos. Now, Vault has thousands of profession videos on the site. Every day you're going to see a different one, as today we see a position for a loan underwriter. If we scroll down a little bit more, we could then see some of the more popular videos that are being searched by candidates. And if we scroll just a little bit further, this is when we could dive deep into some of our popular categories. Now, from a graphic design standpoint, unfortunately, we could only squeeze in 12 of our most popular industries, but luckily, in case you wanted to view other categories, that maybe being government, agriculture, you could click on this widget to view all and do further searches. I'm going to get into one of the videos here. We'll choose and again, stick consistent, talk about accounting. Funny enough, we'll see that featured accounting video here, and then a mere scroll will take us through all the other accounting videos that we have to tag. So let's just say we wanted to learn about life as an actuary, but within our video format compared to our guidebook. Well, one thing I point out is that these videos, they aren't short. This one's roughly 10 minutes here. You might stumble across a video that has a little bit more in the sense of 20, 30 minutes. But luckily for all our job seekers, we made sure to break down these videos within 10 important categories, from main duties, career beginnings, all the way, if we continue to scroll, to things like the industry challenges or looking at the future. And we made it easy for you. When you actually come here and select, you'll be taken directly to the segment within the video. Merely press play and also turn on closed captioning, the transcripts if you preferred, and learn the insight from the professional just within a video format. Now let's go back into career advice, because so far as we talked about our guidebooks being a great one-stop solution for everything and how our videos can really help you as well within those professions, there's so much more content that we want to discuss. But we're going to skip over some of the self-explanatory categories, like the ability to do research on finding any position graduate schools if needed. Now, luckily, we would hope you'd stay within the CUNY system as there's so many great opportunities, but you could also search within in case you wanted to look at an opportunity outside of New York. We do have categories that are also labeled day in the life. I'm going to click on this category because maybe you don't want to see that long video. You just want to get it directly from an individual, whether it's within a particular category or even talking about what life is like as an individual, even within some form of organization. Now, I love these because when you come to them, they're quick little 1 to 2 minute reads. They're going to talk about the daily responsibilities from when they're starting all the way down to when they end their workday, if they actually even ended, as some of these professions go into the wee hours of the night. Going back in the career advice and continue to work up, we'll then see categories that are labeled research industries and explore careers. We're going to go to this because it's helpful, especially as compared to our guidebooks, if you're undecided and don't know where to start. So let's just look at explore careers because actually the research industry page looks identical in the sense of the options that are provided and the skin layout. What we come to and see first is the initial ranking page that we'll have for all these professions. This is the first time we're actually referencing internship rankings, rankings within Vault. We'll get to our internship rankings in a second, but this is going to help in case that you wanted to learn about some of the in-demand professions based off our methodology, and we'll show here. Remember this pop-up that appeared, we'll get to it when it actually comes to our blogs. So I decided to click on our ranking for Beth Healthcare Provider jobs. The reason I did so, and when we have any ranking on Vault, we have to show the methodology behind it. We're not just creating these out of thin air. It's taking a formula based off the number of job openings, earning potential, job satisfaction, etc. Now you could go to other profession rankings that we have, but what we hope for is as you do a little bit of this research, maybe you do want to look at maybe jobs that are tagged to a certain industry. And as we do this work, hey, look, there's that actuary again. Well, I'm going to click on this again, sticking to the same example, because one thing we want to point out is in case you ever just came to that page instead of our Q&A videos, we're not going to let you miss out. We now embedded them directly on the overview page. You scroll a little bit further, we have those great infographics as well. And then all these other sub chapters that are just a little bit more text-based information that could help you be a profession and then really learn more about the opportunity at hand. Now, the final categories with career advice before we then lead the remainder of our workshop focusing on our internship and our company profiles is in fact these categories labeled resumes through networking. Now, all these categories contain samples. So if we went into first the resume section, you have the ability to browse all our sample documents, see from, if we click here, not only being able to search by the industry, but the experience level, maybe entry level, someone looking for an internship, or some of our alumni that are looking for career transition. But outside of the sample documents within those 4 categories, we encourage you to scroll a little bit below, because by doing so, you're going to see our segment of videos. So we have them in resumes, we have them if we go to interviewing, cover letters, and if we go into all these categories and we decide to either scroll or click on one of the areas that call to us, you're going to see that these videos range from maybe someone who never had an interview before, or possibly by someone who is now having to interview but actually prepare for a virtual interview, as so many of them are coming about. Whatever your topic of choice, we do want to show the video format here because they are a little bit different than the other videos that we highlighted. It shows in a little bit bigger format because there is no chapters within this. This is just talking about the topic at hand. And luckily, these videos will not go over 4 minutes at length, so it's a really good way to get some great information within a shorter means. All right. Our guidebooks, those designated categories in career advice, we're hopeful by now that you have learned a certain industry, the very vast amount of professions within, and you're really now looking forward to diving deep further into Vault to find some of these opportunities of the internships and companies. Let's first start with our Explore Internship section. Now, we always leave with a disclaimer. The internship section on Vault is not meant to take away traffic that you might be seeing within some of your portals that the school is providing. I believe at Star Search, and all the other career centers have their own Simplicity or other career management portals that you have the ability to see jobs that are being directed directly to your campus. Now, in a perfect world, that Vault would have those opportunities as well, and we would like you to come in here and not learn about how to apply, but look at the verified intern reviews about it. So it could help you with deciding if you should pursue and or even accept an opportunity within that internship that reached out. But we also want you to use it as to circumvent your job search, because unfortunately there isn't just one product out there that has every single internship or job opportunity. So you have to use everything at your disposal, as we discussed earlier, and find profiles based off what matters to you. Now let's first come to the search box. A lot of the times a student, if they saw that opportunity listed elsewhere, they're going to come here and they're going to quickly do a search within the box to see if any available internships appear. Now you're going to come across that we usually break down our internships by division. So let's just say I was interested in working at Comcast, NBC, Universal. Maybe I'm looking for the finance internship as compared to maybe their engineering and tech internship program. Other than doing a search by name, we will give you the ability to search by an industry first, and then add other filters such as location, if it's for a graduate or undergrad student, paid or unpaid. In the forthcoming future, we're going to be actually having if the opportunity is virtual as compared to previously on campus. You'll then see some top searches, and then you'll see another reference to rankings. Now we're going to take an example of the rankings here because it's one of my favorites, especially as I mentioned, when it comes to internships, because we just don't have rankings that are tagged to industries. We have it on topics that might matter most to you. An internship that's going to give you the best career development, employment prospects, diversity, again, all coming from our detailed survey methodology. Let's get into one of the profiles here. But before getting into, we're going to look at a standard ranking page. Now, we want to point out again that methodology, as it tends to be a little bit more complex when it talks about employers as compared to, as we saw earlier, on a profession ranking. And then we also show the ranking history. Now, it was requested from job seekers. They like to see trends over the years. We'd like to point out that maybe the ranking history just shows that we've been doing this for quite some time, and you should trust the information you're about to see. Now, what we're seeing here is organizations that maybe we know of, that have recruited on campus previously, or those that we've never heard of before. The important factor here is to have you select companies and learn as much about that opportunity. So here we're going to take an example of a standard internship program profile, but what we point out is that as much as the content here is based off the internship, we will show you the relatable company link below in case you want to do discovery on what full-time, part-time work as a professional at the organization is. The overview information on an internship profile will lead you about statistics about the company, talking about who they're trying to hire, the number of locations, as well as the eligibility, which is a must as we want to make sure that you are approved, such as whether your GPA, the type of class, your major, etc. The next and most important section within these profiles is then going to be the category that's labeled intern reviews. Now, as much as some people might jump to the how to apply because they want to be the first or they didn't see this opportunity listed elsewhere, still look at the intern reviews first. You need to make your assumption not just always based off one of our rankings, but based off what verified interns are saying about the organization. Now, when we come here, we're going to see the ability to either scroll up and down, look at verified intern content about positive, negatives, advice of potential interns, but we recently added a new feature that allows you to dive deep into some of the popular questions that we asked in our survey. Maybe you're looking for only information about diversity initiatives, or perhaps you saw this opportunity listed elsewhere, and now you need to learn from Vault about sample interviews or the interview process. We will then lead us to the how to apply section. Now, please note that the how to apply section is actually different on every single one of our internship profiles, because this is the only page that our point of contacts at the organization are able to control. So they'll either tell you the process is either going through their own site. You might see an easy apply button within Vault. You also might have them to go and tell you exactly to go apply to the Career Center. But the intern reviews, they cannot be manipulated or touched by the employer. The same goes with the overview information, but they know how the apply process is. So it does vary, and you'll notice that even some of the profiles provide a point of contact for you to go reach out to, whether it's on LinkedIn or an email as well. Now, I can select here the category to go and research some of the full-time employee responses, but I'm going to show by doing so by going to our landing page for research companies. Now, we've been doing these for quite some time. You see here are 5 most popular industries. Even if you wanted to go into accounting, I will still tell you to go click on Browse More Companies because you're going to get a better search result. And lo and behold, this looks pretty identical to what we did for internships, being able to search the company by name, choose by location, as well as top searches and many, many more rankings. I do want to show rankings one more time because the rankings that we have for companies as compared to internships are a little bit more in-depth as well. You're noticing that gradual increase in the amount of content that we're collecting. Now, you have the ability to browse through our popular. You could go to more. One thing I like to point out is, let's just say I clicked on the section here for customer service. We have sub rankings within that because that could be media, travel, retail companies, and so on. Let's take an example, and especially one of our newest rankings that came out just a couple weeks ago on standard tax day, even though it has been pushed back here to, I believe, the July 15th, is that we always come out with these yearly rankings. And these rankings then lead us to profiles. So here is a standard ranking, and we're showing for accounting. Well, we're going to have multiple rankings within. A ranking that will talk about the top 50, 100, 200, whatever the category calls, because it's going to combine both large, small, boutique, unknown organizations through the methodology that's tagged to it. But then we understand that sometimes the user just wants the name on the resume. So we have separate rankings based off how prestigious the organization are. We then take it a little bit further and we have quality of life factors because every user is different. Maybe you're looking for an accounting organization that gives you the best culture, vacation policies, hiring process, promotion policy, etc. We even go further. Maybe you are a diverse candidate. You want to see the overall or by the categories that we have to help you align your choice when, again, pursuing an opportunity. And then finally, some of our industries, accounting being one, and there's others, we have different practice areas because if you were interested in tax accounting as compared to maybe audit and insurance, it's going to be different organizations that were ranked. I am going to get us into a ranking here. And upon selecting any of these ranking pages, again, comes to a standard ranking page. We see the survey methodology. We could jump up and down. And the point here is to get you to do as much research on these companies. Now I'm scrolling just to show that we have a lot of organizations that take part. Hopefully that some of these are organizations that you've seen on campus before, those named organizations, but there might be some that you never heard of too. What we want you to click on as many do these research, but let's just take an example of just one profile. Now let's use this one as it is an organization that is located, as we see here, within New York, a very smaller organization, less than 1,000 employees, as compared to maybe one of the larger companies that we saw. But this is very standard formatting on all of our company profiles, giving you an overview, the ability to look at all the survey reviews that we've consolidated, multimedia content, such as a spotlight on one particular employee, and this is provided from the organization, and then the ability to look at all the reviews that were received from the survey after it was closed. We came up with a nice little unique solution that as we do these surveys yearly, in case there was significant change, we do allow for individuals to submit. Now, the overview will give you great content about the organization as we talk about stats-wise, about the company. We have now added a new section that will talk about a COVID-19 update in the sense of what they're providing or if they have halted their hiring, for example. But the most popular is the survey says. Company research is long and daunting. We have understood that. We want to make sure that you have the ability, if you come here and look at the survey says, to see an overall consensus view of what majority of the employees that took part are talking about. But we're going to first give you our own spin and what we call our vault verdict. We think it's wise to help you in this process instead of having to go read through all the profiles, maybe take our word for it, or just look at some of the quotes that most of the employees talked about. And usually what we gather is things around the hiring process, interview questions, career development, which was new a couple years ago, one of our favorites, the overall quality of life. That could be, is there a gap year? Was I given some form of summer Fridays or other flexibility things that are really important? I always joke that if we stopped asking about salary and benefits, Vault's site would crash. We do have information about the salaries, but a lot of the times it's talking about any other compensation like 401k matching, perks in the office like being able to dress down. And then finally, you will always see content on diversity or lack thereof, and even the business outlook. Now, business outlook to us is very important for some of these smaller companies. If you were nervous about key hiring or firing upper management, cash flow, being able to see that directly here, we always say it's like knowing multiple employees at the organization. And even though I'm sure you're encouraged to reach out to alumni and connect with those that used to come to career fairs on campus, having this information at your fingertips just allows you to get so much insight without having to reach out, mentorships, etc. So I'm seeing a lot of questions come in. We're almost done with the part of the overview. There's two categories that we want to go ahead and show before we answer some of these from the live attendees, and that being our blogs and of course our job board. Now, I referenced there was a pop-up earlier that came about. Usually it appears when you do select our blogs. We encourage everyone, students, job seekers alike, and even staff, to sign up for a newsletter so you can get a curated article of the week and don't always have to log into Vault to go search that. But the reason we stress these blog articles is not only because it gives some great insight of what's currently going on with the COVID-19 pandemic, it also gives you some insight on some new updates to Vault, if there's any new internships, things of that nature, and of course on topics that might matter most to you. Now, we stress these articles, whatever the method you want to go through, is that when you come to these articles, there's going to be a lot of information that's hyperlinked within, taking you to other categories within our site, other external sites as well, just to help you be well more equipped with the topic at hand. And the final section within Vault, and sometimes the last use section, is in fact our job board. Now, the job board does open up to a different page, and we'll discuss why. But the reason why Vault usually gets least activity within our job board is, as we discussed, that your career services office provides you with tremendous tools, whether it's a Star Career Search at the Star Career Development Center or all the other branded Simplicity portals and other portals that your career center is offering. You have a distinct area where jobs are being directed exclusively for you. Well, Vault's job board is unique is that it gives the opportunities to every single one of our subscribing institutions, and as well as pulls in some of the job feeds that are coming from companies that either maybe never took part in a Vault survey or either just posting their jobs publicly on their site. Now, for those that have used standard job boards before, ours looks very similar, being able to type in keyword, location, distance, looking at some of the featured jobs that will always come here, and even giving you the ability on the right-hand side to sign up for job alerts. So we talked about signing up for the newsletter, so you don't always have to do your own searching. Very similar here that we discussed within the job board. Instead of you coming back and doing searches left and right, how about you put your email address in, your keyword, choose a location. We even have some preset selected categories, and then you'll have these opportunities sent directly to the email address submitted instead of always having to come back and do the search. Now we're going to take us back into the quick little PowerPoint. Before we start taking some of the questions that we received from the live audience, one of the final agenda points that we did have was about talking about companies that are hiring now. Now, again, referencing go to your career center, they know who, they're having these great relationships with the organizations. But I am going to point out an organization, that being LinkedIn, not because they're just looking for opportunities, but because LinkedIn has been doing a fabulous job. And for those that don't have a LinkedIn profile, we encourage you to go and get one ASAP. But LinkedIn's been doing a great job, and so many other outlets as well, of talking about hashtags of who's hiring now. I decided just to put a couple of the hundreds of organizations that are still going out there and saying we are hiring, whether it's temporary work, whether it's new positions that they've created, or positions that they had open that they now just switch it to more of a virtual role. You have to really discover these organizations. Again, use what's at your disposal. Here's just a tidbit of those, and there's so many other more. Look what's out there, go on Vault and all these other career tools, and you're going to have great success of finding these opportunities. Now, we thank everyone for taking the time to review how to use Vault to help with your job search. We're going to pause for 1 minute here while we go and gather some of the questions that have been typed up to our live community. And then those that are applicable, we will go ahead and answer over audio. But we do want to reference that in case you are watching this recording, or maybe you have any questions that come out afterwards, you could always reach out to the Vault team at the email address that you see on the page. Please give us 1 minute. So we noticed that a couple of the questions that initially came in, and it could have been maybe from individuals that were logging in a little bit different, later I should say, was about how to gain access to Vault. Now again, as our friends at the Star Career Development Center was the ones putting this on, if you are a student from Baruch College, you could gain access to Vault via their career development website. But no matter what school within the community system that you work at, that you attend, or an alumni of, you could go ahead and gain access by gaining through the Career Center at your school, and even via the library, as libraries are now putting links to Vault there as well. So there's no excuse not to find at your access point, depending on your institution. We had other couple questions that came in. Will this actually be recorded? Yes, after our sessions ends, you all will receive a recording to the presentation, and any questions that you have about or maybe want more insight, you could again always reach out to the Vault team. So we had a question came in about career change. Is it important for us to go ahead and dive into industries that we never considered before, even if our major doesn't align to it? Yes, I think that is especially needed now more than ever, as some of these industries are going to be very impacted. If you look at the food and beverage industry, or just as recently of seeing what Warren Buffett did in the sense of releasing all his shares in airlines, even if you had interest within there, you still have to dive deep and see any relatable industries or how the profession. So in short, yes, do as much discovery, not just in the sense of the employers, but also in what the professions and the industries are offering. We had a question came in if there's going to be any other workshops that are going to be provided, excuse me, whether through Vault or others. Yes, we actually have a couple more workshops that are coming up, one tomorrow and two others next week. We encourage you to reach out to Vault Campus or reach out to your Career Center for a listing of those, and we'll provide you the registration link so you could join. We had a question that came in. It was somewhat unrelated to what we saw, but we did reference about the importance of networking. The question was involving, is LinkedIn as important to use? A lot of recruiting is being done on LinkedIn, but I think the importance of having LinkedIn profile today, and not only having a LinkedIn profile, but using it actively, is because a lot of job employers, they use LinkedIn or just Google and sometimes to find if you have a digital presence. And if you don't, sometimes it could be a little bit weary because so many of our job seekers are on LinkedIn to network and find jobs. So luckily, whether you're going through Vault to find insight of how to use LinkedIn or even just going to LinkedIn in general, they do have great solutions to tell you how to go ahead and create your profile to your best ability. But yes, you will want to make sure that you're using LinkedIn to network and continue to hear about some other of these opportunities. All right, everyone, continue to ask questions in. We're going to, of course, respond to those that might be a little bit more personal afterwards, and you could always reach out to us via email. But we're going to remain on the line for a couple more minutes longer in case you do have any other questions. For those that don't, feel free to log off, and you will receive a copy of the recording in the next 2 hours. But we thank all live attendees for actually joining, for the great questions that we've received currently. And again, we'll remain on the line for a couple more minutes longer. A question came in just real quickly as some people are logging off. If Vault is free, yes, all this information is free. Again, if you went through the designated channels, whether it's if you're a Baruch student accessing it on Star Search or the Baruch Library, and any other student or alumni that are at a different institution by similar methods by going through the Career Center and their library. All right, everyone, it seems that the questions have stopped. We again thank you. We hope that you remain safe during these challenging times. And any further questions that you have after receiving the recording could be issued directly to Vault Campus at vault.com. We'll talk to you soon, and we look forward to seeing you on the platform shortly.